Hey folks, I'm Shannon Tindle, writer-director of Ultraman Rising, which you can watch on Netflix. And today, I'm going to be talking about my 5 favorite clips of Emmy. So just a warning to folks who haven't seen the film, we're going to have some spoilers in these clips. So just run over to Netflix, watch it first, then you can come back and check out the clips. So nothing's ruined for you. So Emmy was a character, this film was always going to be about someone who never thought that they would be a father, being forced to be a father. So when I first began the process of creating the character, a lot of it was based on my experience with my little cousins because I wasn't yet a dad. But then eventually I had my own daughter, and a lot of her mannerisms, a lot of my challenges as a new dad were inspired by her. And I wanted to present something that parents would see their own kids in this character, the specificity of what it's like to be a parent and how sometimes it can be frustrating. It's not always fun and games. It's often stressful and exhausting, but there are those moments of pure joy. And Emmy is that balancing force in the film that actually brings everyone together. So this is one of those scenes that it was always going to be in the film. It's been in every version of it because you have to have that moment where you see kaiju in a different way. This is something that Mark Hames and I talked about a lot. Is Mark is like, look, we got to have fun at the beginning. We have to show the audience what they're expecting, a big battle between a monster. What I loved about that is because we knew we were going to have the scene where Ken is confronted with Gigantron face to face, but he has to see her in a different light. It's a huge shift for him because he's only ever seen these monsters as things that disrupt his life, that destroy the city. But in this moment, he understands that she's just trying to protect her child, which is a big revelation for him. Because the audience, we hope, was cheering on Ultraman when he was fighting Naranga. And now at this point, I wanted them to start to question that. Should they be cheering for Ultraman potentially harming a kaiju? Because it's the moral question that his dad has been whispering in his ear for years. And then you see this thing that she's been carrying around. I want to treat it like it could be a bomb, because at this point we don't know what it is. We have that little flashing beep, and then it pops open and we reveal Emmy. So right off of the tragedy of the death of Gigantron, then we have this new life being born. Ken can't possibly process what he's seeing. I don't know that any parent could when they see the birth of their child, but he's experienced it after he's experienced probably watching his first death. And he's looking at her, and because he can't verbalize it, what I said to Sun Min, our art director, I said, show what he doesn't have the words to say. So she painted this beautiful image. We have the clouds part, and we show a feeling rather than say what it is. The other thing that's really cool about this sequence, it was actually the first piece of music that we heard from our composer, Scott Stafford. He wrote that Gigantron theme, and he played the menacing version of it first. Then he made the somber version of it. So you start to feel it's her theme, but now there's some pathos there, there's some empathy there for her. And I remember when we all heard this piece of music, it just blew everybody away.
What now?
I think it's her tummy. She must be starving.
This clip is for parents, and it's probably for me doing a little therapy session myself. You know, once you have that magic moment when the baby's born, and then you bring them home, and there aren't instructions. There's nobody there to really tell you what to do. I mean, I called my parents endlessly, but this baby is 20 feet tall at this point. And Ken doesn't have the first idea what to do. She's just tried to kill him in the scene prior to this. Well, now she's just learned that Ken and Ultraman are the same, so she's getting a little bit more comfortable, but babies have their needs, and she's desperate to eat. She's hungry, but what do you feed a giant?
Maple and brown sugar oatmeal. New York strip. Go on, try it.
In this instance, she sees, and this is a little nod, and there are many nods, to the wonderful Mekiko Wakira, who is a very close friend and who was on the film from the beginning. She's a big Mr. Donut fan, and Mr. Donut is a chain that used to be here in the United States, but now it's a chain in Tokyo, and the Pondo ring is the thing to get. So we had to put Pondo rings here. It's Ken's comfort food. We actually had a scene at one point where he goes away to have a coffee and some donuts just to get out of the house. She wants that, but he can't feed her that, so what do we do? Where there are all these fish outside. So I think this might be the first time that we've ever seen Ultraman get dinner for a kaiju. And so again, it was merging the world of Ultraman with the world of what it actually feels like to be a parent.
Calm down right now. Be careful.
I don't think she's listening.
Thanks for the observation.
There's so much to talk about with this scene. We've just come off of a fun chase. And the way I always want to present this is, if you've ever had a kid and they start to run toward traffic, they're having a time of their life, and it's the worst time of your life because you're worried they're going to get killed. So Emmy has been literally running in traffic, and now she's climbing the biggest tree in the city, and she's having the time of her life. Ken/Ultraman's miserable because he's trying to keep her safe. He's connected with her now. They've bonded.
This is not playtime. You get down from there right now, young lady.
So we wanted to play the fun of that, but then right in the middle of that fun, we see Dr. Onda drop in with the KDF gunships. We have the incredible Christopher Sean, we have the incredible Keone Young, and we have Randy Tom creating the voice of Emmy. And there's a really beautiful dynamic where we're switching back between a little bit of comedy between Ken and Emmy, and then Keone shows up, or Dr. Onda shows up in the KDF, and it starts to get really serious. It was very important to me, and I got some pushback on this, but of how hard do we go when she hurts herself? And I said, well, look, as a parent, I don't get to edit what happens to my kid. And so whenever Emmy falls and he reaches out to grab her, when we were in the mix with at Skywalker, I was like, you got to crank that break up because I want everybody to be startled. I want everybody to cringe because that's what happens. And to really show that there are real stakes here. And then at the very tail end of it, we introduce one of the classic Ultra powers, and that's Ultra Slash. It was one of my favorites when I was a kid, and I thought this was a great moment where it's not practiced, it's just emotionally he has this reaction and he pulls it out. So this has it all. It's got incredible performances by our cast. It's got that balance between the fun of being a parent and the nightmare of being a parent, and then that real dread that sets in when you feel that your child's threatened and what you're willing to do to protect your kid. That's why I love this scene.
It's okay. You're gonna be okay. Daddy's here.
Now you see Ultraman turn into angry daddy mode. So I'm sure there'll be some TikTok videos hashtagged angry daddy after this with Mr. Ken Sato. Ken doesn't have a great relationship with his dad. He feels like his father abandoned him and that he wasn't a very good parent when he moved to the United States. And we also have that balance of the empathetic parent. So Emmy has just broken her arm and Ken is trying to console her. At the same time, he literally has guns pointed at him. Then we have that wide that I call our King Kong shot. It's one of my favorite shots where he's just holding her on the Tokyo Tower. And rarely do you get to feel like Ultraman is vulnerable. And that was the idea behind this shot, was to make Ultraman feel like he's outnumbered and that not only could he get hurt, but Emmy could get hurt more. Then you see that rage come out when he comes face to face with Dr. Onda, who's just caused his child pain, and he shoots off into the sky. And because of what he's gone through with Emmy, and although he's been reluctant to talk with his dad, he knows that his dad is an expert on the kaiju.
Prep the base! We have to call him! Call my dad!
He's the only person he can turn to. And that was, I actually have a really good relationship with my parents, but I would often call them late at night and say, I'm worried, you know, she's not eating, she's losing weight, and I could rely on them to be there. And Ken, although he's pushed to that, this is the beginning of the next chapter of his relationship with his father. And this is, again, another turning point where you see this baby bringing a family together. This kaiju, which is seen by many people as being disruptive to humanity, is the thing that brings a father and son together and helps them to heal.
I question, like, how could you create such a beautiful storyline when you had such a great relationship with your parents? But how do you get it? Like, so you just get it.
You listen to everybody else. That's the other thing too. It's like any kind of gaps that I have, because is like I listen to other people on the team. I want to encourage that vulnerability so other people can share their stories. I remember the first time I was working at a printing company back home in Kentucky, and a lovely woman that I worked with there, I was talking about my family and whatever, and she wouldn't really talk that much about her family. I said, so what's up with your mom and dad? And she goes, Shannon, not everybody has the same relationship you do. And it really like hit me. She wasn't being nasty, but it was like, I guess that's true, but it's all I'd ever known. And we had our own drama in my family too, but there are people that you don't understand, and that's where, again, those kind of gaps, like you lean into other folks and you just listen. So. And this is the first time that we actually see Ken sharing something with Emmy. The first time that they play baseball. And there's a moment as a parent when you see yourself in your child, which is kind of a magical thing. It's also, I'm sure there's ego involved. You're seeing your child and they're behaving like you, but there's also something magic about it because they're making a choice. They're not just mimicking you, they're doing something that they see you do and they want to do it. I tend to go more for the emotional scenes in the film. Cute Emmy is amazing and we've seen lots of her, but I wanted to talk about the more emotional scenes, the things that I think like are meaningful to me and would be to other parents and kids. Ken's been through this, and Ken is a baseball player at the absolute highest level, but when he goes back, the field that Mina has recreated for him is the field that he grew up playing with, and she had that little detail of having his mother, who's not around anymore, sitting in the bleachers. So we wanted this to be about nostalgia. We wanted there to be a glow. This is one of the first sequences we put through production, and a lot of times you're trying to find your way when you're working through a sequence. ILM, and pun intended, knocked it out of the park from the first scene.
Whoa! Yes!
The performance of both Ken and Emmy is absolutely incredible in this sequence. The lighting to give it a bit more of a dreamy quality to it, to have that late afternoon vibe to it. It really blew me away. Ken is teaching her a lesson. She doesn't know that you have to swing the bat to hit the ball, and then it bonks her in the head and she's crying. But him being that reassuring parent, say like, it's okay to make mistakes. We're all gonna make mistakes, and you're gonna make a million of them before you get good at this. And you may never get good at it, but let's just have fun. And then she hits it out of the park. And again, this is where we have Christopher's warmth, we have Tamlin's amazing warmth in this scene as well, having fun. And then one of the other cool things at the end of this scene is actually from a promise I made to Paul Rudish. I was at Disney when I was actually writing the script. There's a famous kaiju dance that actually originated with a series called Osamatsu-kun. Paul said, look, I love the idea for this movie. I hope you get to make it, but you got to promise me that you're going to have that dance in the film. And so we actually have it a couple of times in the film. Mr. Rudish, I hope you've seen the film. If you haven't, promise kept. We got the dance in. I hope you're happy, because the fans sure are, and I was happy to include it. So those are my top 5 Emmy clips. This has been Shannon Tindle, the writer-director of Ultraman Rising. If you haven't seen the film, you can watch it now on Netflix. Please check it out. And this is actually the first time I'm ever saying, if you like this video, like and subscribe, and we'll see you soon.